Well, there's a fella that we need to call real quick and let him tell his experience.
We are calling Richard Jones this morning. Backstory, his wife has been a patient in Odessa.
On the ventilator, 100% oxygen. Told that it was hopeless. We need hospice.
Yep.
Good morning, Mr. Jones. This is Chris Moore with News Talk 550. How are you?
I'm very well this morning, thank God.
Well, we are just thrilled to hear that. How is your lovely wife?
Well, Miss Brenda is now able to stand, and she's in recovery. She's been off the ventilator for a week. As soon as she's able to walk, it looks like she's going to get to come home and be with us again.
Well, give us a little bit of the history on how you got to where you are today.
No, on October 17th, my wife was feeling really bad all day long. About 5 o'clock in the evening, she decided it was time to go to the hospital and get checked out.
Mm-hmm.
So we get her up there, get her in the emergency room. I'm able to go back with her. They bring her back a diagnosis of COVID-19 an hour after we'd been there. They looked at me and said, "Sir, you can't be here. You have to leave." And I hung on for a little while. I wanted to say bye to Brenda and everything, make sure things were right. And about 15 minutes later, they come back, tell me the same thing: "Sir, you have to leave." So I look at Brenda, give her a kiss on the cheek because I can't get to her lips because they have a big old mask on her face, and tell her I'll see her when she gets out.
Mm-hmm.
That I love her very much. So I come home, get her mother, carry her mother back to the hospital, and both of us get tested. While we're there, they decide to keep the mother-in-law, and they send me home. Say I'm not sick enough to be in
Okay.
the hospital. So that was a blessing in itself right there. I get home, call, find out how Brenda's doing. They've got a ventilator stuck down her throat now and pumping air in her. They've got her up to 100% ventilator because they say she's not breathing at all on her own at this point. I'm really getting worried. We go along to the third day. I get a call about 3:30 in the afternoon from a Dr. Mahmood at Medical Center Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And she's offering me hospice care. Now I'm thinking hospice, hospice takes care of people when they're really ill and tries to help families.
Right.
So I'm thinking, well, it's probably not a bad idea. Until I asked her, well, ma'am, what does hospice care do? Well, we'll let you or one of your loved ones put on a hazmat suit and come up here to the hospital and see Brenda, at which point hospice care will proceed to shut off the ventilator and take the tubes out of her throat and see if she lives or dies. Now, wait a minute. This doesn't sound right. You're asking me to come watch my wife die? Is that what you're saying? Well, you'll get to see her one last time. But, ma'am, no way. This ain't happening. No. You're going to keep her on that ventilator. You're going to revive her if she needs to be revived. You're going to do everything possible to keep my wife alive. Well, if that isn't bad enough, this same Dr. Mahmood from Medical Center calls my children behind my back. They're adults. Oldest one's 30 years old, and offers them the same thing. Wants to kill their mother and let them watch her die. Now, that's not very good for a hospital to be pushing that. It's, I don't know, murder for hire in my book.
Were your kids on the list of responsible individuals for your wife?
The kids are all listed that way because they're all adults, and
Okay.
they're her next of kin.
Yes, sir.
I granted all the kids as long as they have the password, full access.
Okay.
Of course, how they got their phone numbers, I don't know, but they did.
Okay.
But this Dr. Mahmood from Medical Center called and tried to get us to unplug my wife. Didn't give us a bit of hope or anything. Now, about that time, a daughter-in-law of mine passes me Dr. Bartlett's phone number. Dr. Bartlett tells me the name of the medicine, which is Budesonide, and says get him to
It's not-
administer that to Brenda.
It's budesonide, not cyanide.
Budesonide, mine. And I'm not very good at pronouncing long words like that. But anyway.
We just want to make sure we get it out there.
He tells me about this medicine, so I call and ask the doctor to give it to her. Well, sir, we're not going to use that. That's an experimental drug.
Oh my goodness.
It's not proven to help anyone with COVID. Well, sir, that's what I want tried on my wife. But the president came out and said there's a mandate that says that we have the right to try it, and I want to try it. No, sir, we're not going to do that. So next morning, Dr. Bartlett gets hold of me, and we get on a joint phone call. And we get this doctor on the phone, and no, he's not going to try the medication. He will not do it. No way. Right to try doesn't mean anything. Dr. Bartlett read the Riot Act on his oath that he took to become a doctor. And finally, the doctor agrees to try the Budesonide. And within an hour of Brenda receiving the first treatment of it, she goes from 100% ventilator output to 80%.
Wow.
Blood pressure was off the wall. Heart rate 120 to 140 beats a minute. Just totally crazy. As soon as the Budesonide hits her system, everything calms out. Just like a flat, glassy lake. Just beautiful. Everything's smooth. Everything goes back where it should be on a person that's on a ventilator. All calm. Everything looking great. So I try to get the doctor to increase the dosage. He won't go for it. They're giving her 4 doses a day when a person could receive up to 12. And I think if she'd received more dosage, she'd been on that ventilator a lot longer. Well, we get down to the 8th day on that ventilator, and she's down to 40% ventilator output. Everything's still looking good, but still not recuperating as fast as I'd like to see. We go 2 more days, and boom, she's off that ventilator.
Wonderful.
She's looking good. But in the process of getting her off the ventilator, I called and talked to the head of the department, of Dr. Azrov. And this Dr. Azrov got angry with me because I had Dr. Bartlett on the line. We were trying to get the dosage increased to get her off that machine. Well, Dr. Bartlett gets off the line because the doctor tells me he's not going to speak to me anymore with Dr. Bartlett on the line.
Oh my.
This doctor proceeds to tell me that he is going to take me in front of a medical board. He's going to take my conservatorship to my wife away from me because I'm an idiot and don't have any idea how to take care of my wife because I don't have a medical degree. And he hangs up on me.
Oh wow.
But right after that phone call, I guess he went and gave her another dose of the Budesonide because an hour later, she's off the ventilator.
Interesting.
So she comes off the ventilator. Immediately, this doctor shoves a pencil and a piece of paper in Brenda's hand and has her sign it. Takes my conservatorship away from me. For 4 days, I sit here at this house and cannot find out a single bit of information on my wife whatsoever. I mean, it's just totally wrong the way these people did me. And finally, the lights came on and said, wait a minute, we're in the state of Texas. I've got the right as her husband to know anything I want to know about her medical records as long as we're married. So I called the hospital administration and read him the Riot Act. Told him that he had 1 minute to get me information on my wife, or I was going to take it to court, and I was going to get a nice chunk of change out of them. Well, within 1 minute, I'm a hold to the nurse's station, and they're telling me all my wife's vital signs and everything there is to know about her. But for some reason, she's convinced that I had abandoned her at that hospital and wasn't going to try to take care of her anymore. But long story short, she finally comes around after her son speaks to her and tells her what's going on. I get a text message from my wife telling me she loves me.
Aww. Well,
And
this
that
is...
made my day. I immediately called her phone, got hold of her. We had a half-hour conversation. me with tears of joy flowing like a river out of my head for a half an hour, and all I could tell her was, I love you. That's all I could say to my wife is, I love you. But long story short, people, this hospital down here, we need to get it opened up. My wife tells me that for a week at a time, they're piling their bed sheets in the corner and laundry's not being done. And these sheets are soiled. People on COVID are immobilized. They can't get up. They're just tossing the laundry in the corner for them to smell all the stink or whatever going on. They're not allowing us into the hospitals to see our loved ones and see what's happening. During this ordeal, I asked to know what drugs my wife was being administered. The doctor told me that I could check with medical records. It wasn't his job to tell me what medications my wife is on. Now, I'll tell you, by law, it is his duty to tell a loved one what medications are being administered to their loved one. We really need to get this hospital opened back up like it was before COVID, so people are going in and out of that hospital checking on their loved ones, and they can't do all their little hanky-panky in secret anymore, because it's really bad up there. Now, people, the Budesonide, if your loved one ain't breathing right, try it. It's worth a try, because the offer you got is they're going to kill your wife or your loved ones, or you've got a chance at life. And that Budesonide it's the key to it. It opens up the lungs. It allows a function to happen that isn't happening with the medications the hospitals are pushing. It's just a way to get your loved one back.
We appreciate you. We are so happy for you. Prayers your wife is home by the holidays. Thank you for sharing your story this morning.
I hope she is too, because during the time I couldn't speak to my wife, I decided that I would do something in a way of something loving for her. And knowing she has a hard time walking and runs out of breath real easy because she's been on oxygen for a while.
Yes, sir.
It's hard for her to get in and out of our restroom because our tub and all, we live in what used to be an auto garage. And our tub and our toilet were up on platforms so that the pipe could be just shoved out the side of the wall because whoever put them in didn't want to dig underneath the concrete. So I remodeled the bathroom for her when I couldn't speak to her.
Well, what a great husband you are. Thank you, sir, and you have a blessed day. What an incredible story. We are past time this morning. It does go very, very fast. So we appreciate, we're going to have to continue this conversation, I guess, next week. But Dr. Richard Bartlett, any closing words this morning?
Yes, because I love the people in West Texas. You're my people. Everybody use mouthwash, something that kills 99.9% of the germs. Let's slow the spread by doing something that's really effective. Everybody use Listerine or its equivalent at least once a day. If you feel symptoms, use it more often. Get some Budesonide or Rhinocort nose spray. Use that every day. That makes you have less receptors. The children have less receptors. That's why they get less sick. Do those two things, West Texas, so we can slow this down.
We so appreciate you. Thank you for that great news, Dr. Richard Bartlett. We're going to take a quick break, Rush Update, and back here after your Fox News and your TSN Sports.
Make sure Santa knows where